It's actually some good 20s that are starting, but I just feel like I might be a little bit too tired to play. I wouldn't even say my A game, like a B game. Put limit on my high low. Yeah, there's a couple good 20s. Just thinking here. There's the 11 rebuy out on. This is nice. These sort of 20s are exactly what we want to be playing. $22 deep stack. I'm just not sure. It's already almost 5 AM here. I've got to wake up, look after my youngest daughter at 11 AM. That doesn't mean I'm going to be getting that much sleep. So I better just finish out these ones, I guess. See if we can't finish them out in style. 2 of 22, top left. And not looking good on top right though, is it? We're going to 3-bit this guy, I think, if he had have opened. From hijack. But yeah, we're just going to open the cutoff here, King 2 suited. Been tangling a little bit with the big blind, so let's see what he does here. He's gone for the 3x. He's been raising quite a bit. We're in position. I think I'm going to go with a re-raise here. 2, 5, 5, 5. Where are we? Yeah, he's been 3-betting a lot. We could call as well and try and play post swap, I think, with this hand. I guess we're going to have to fold now. I'm not really sure what does that. Does do that. I really have no idea what does that. It's almost like he was waiting for a dry flop to make sure he felt more comfortable rather than get it in, I guess. With like jacks. Maybe he's got ace 10 or like a weirdly played trap hand like queens. I don't really think he's doing it as a bluff. That would be pretty wild. Unless he's got 9s and he's just like, well, I didn't want to get it in pre, but now on 10 high board, I feel better about my hand. Very, very weird hand. But you know, we had bottom pair, so I don't think we're doing well in any case. Kind of confirms that guy could be a bit out there, you know, to put it mildly. And so maybe we didn't make very good plays before folding as tight as we did. He could be a bit of a spew monkey. He did have kind of tight stats, but you can see how, you know, that's quickly changing now, so we might have to adjust. Now we're seeing him do a few odd things that sort of point the signs towards fish, or the sign is being pointed towards. Yeah, kind of a spew monkey is my feeling. What do you guys think? I mean, any guy that sort of calls a 3-bet, a 4-bet out of position, then double pot shoves on a 10 high board is... I mean, I can't really think of any hands that can be good with. Can't really think of any. But, you know, it's better than... At least he didn't check jam us, because I was going to bet. I don't think I was going to check back. I was going to bet and continue to represent. I wanted to have an uncapped range. If we checked, I think he's just going to think we're capped. We have ace king a lot, or worse, and very unlikely to have a pair. It kind of gives him a little bit of sort of better visibility that our hand is marginal and he can play accordingly by either taking us to value town or by just deciding to barrel us off our hand. So I would normally in that instance prefer to keep our range uncapped and just be betting so we can have high pairs and hands like that, big pairs, in our range. And that usually works out better in general. And then you just take it from there, you know. If you raise, if you 3-bet pre with, let's say you've got ace 7 and the board comes jack 7-4, the guy's called out of position when you 3-bet and he's checked the flop to you, and you don't really want to check back in that instance. You want to be always betting. Keep your range uncapped. Sometimes most of the time you got the best hand, they're just going to fold anyway, and if they do call, you can represent. If the turn's a king, you might now turn your hand into a bluff and try and fold out 8s, 9s, 10s, or if he's got a jack, you've still got that uncapped range. Excuse me. Even on some dry cards, drive turns, maybe you're going to try and bluff, or you can then check back, take your free card on the turn. If he does check raise you on your flop, which will happen sometimes, of course, then you just take it from there. You know, okay, is he the type of player that's capable of check raising here with a bluff range, or does he just think he's going with his hand, sort of thing? So I think I'm just going to shove. Yeah, 15 bigs, 16 bigs. I'm just trying to think if there's any merit to raising to sort of 450. He's always calling. He might call with some hands we dominate, which is good. But at the same time, we kind of give him a nice price with his hand that he might limp with, like 10-7 suited and stuff, 7-6-8 suited, and if he's limp with like pocket 5s, and then he gets kind of a 48, 15, 19, and then he gets a nice low board, you know, where he gets it in against us in good shape. It just means we can kind of play our hand a little bit messy. I think it's better just to go ahead and maybe sometimes he'll fold hands that had good equity. If he's got like king 10 suited and we just raise, I mean, we're just getting a pretty good price. We are in position. The SPR's getting a little bit awkward though, you know, is the problem. I will isolate here in this instance though, just because we're slightly deeper now and because our hand has a little bit less, how would I say, wow, this guy's down here. This is the same guy from before. So I think I'm just going to raise 3-bet small against this guy. I think he's going to call with lots of hands we can crush. I think I might check just because he's shown us that he's a bit of a spew monkey. I'm going to fast check turn and maybe sometimes he'll bluff river. I think I will bet. I don't think... Yeah, I mean, yeah. We've got the nut blocker as well, so I don't think there's going to be much weird stuff. You know, the thin value bets on the river sometimes are dangerous because your hands kind of face up. You know, if we bet that amount, it pretty much looks like we always have ace king or king queen. And if he ever like just spazzes out and like check shoves, you know, it's pretty unlikely, but we can't really call. So that's probably not going to happen hardly ever in that instance. But there are some instances where you bet for thin for value on the river. And you hands face up, you let your player potentially, you know, make some nice bluffs against you or call fairly correctly. In that instance, he's probably calling too wide because he's a bit fishy. Not that he should have it much because he's checked turn and river, but sorry, flop and turn. But I mean, I just don't think he ever has a speed, basically. Especially when he's snap checking the way he was. And I just gave up top right once it was multi-way, and we had a pretty marginal hand on a board that we can expect lots of hands to call us if we bet. Any heart, top pair obviously, and maybe worse. And just going back to what I was saying about that hand, I mean, A6 is... You want to try and get heads up in position. You definitely don't want to, I think, just limp behind with it. It's a hand that plays very badly post-flop. But in position, heads up, yeah, you're not going to flop top pair. You know, you're going to flop the ace like 14% or whatever it is, but you just got an opponent who's probably going to just overfold a lot once they limp and call. And you've got the initiative. Then you can continue to tell the story. Your c-bet's going to be stronger. So I would just raise or fold normally in that spot. Especially with the amount of players behind that we had. And the fact that this guy seems like he limps a lot. I think that the raise is, he's going to call the raise a lot, although he did fold then. But I think he's going to just overfold on the flop. And some of the time, well, a lot of the time, we can have the best hand anyway on the flop, so. Coming up to 5 a.m. Only 2 tables left, guys. So I will, after the break, resume recording and record down to the bust outs, which hopefully aren't going to happen anytime soon. Touch wood. He's M5.5-ish. He's been kind of tight. But he is hijack. So, what's that? A PN of 22 if he's a thinking player. Which doesn't really have us in good shape. And he's probably not a thinking player. His stats say that he's been kind of tight. So, I think best case here we're up against like a king, jack, king, queen. But a lot of the time he's going to have a bigger ace or some pair, pair that can maybe have us in bad shape, sevens and stuff. So I'm just going to fold. I think if he's... Yeah, I mean, that's probably a pretty easy fold, I guess. He's just a little bit too deep. If he was a regular and he was just a little bit shorter, like M4 or thereabouts, it would be a lot tougher. Because he's probably jamming a correct range, and M4, he's only going to need a PN of 16 there. Our A6 off, though, does only have a PN of 18, so probably still be folding. But we are big blind and we'd be getting pretty good pot odds. So maybe I wouldn't be. I might be lying there. Sorry guys, still got this cough. I'm going to call. And yeah, I'm going to check jam here, I think. We're just not so deep that... I mean, I think for one, I think he's over c-betting. And for two, we're just not that deep that, we're worried about stacking off. We're only getting to that stage where, let's just see, what do we start the hand with? Because I know that the HUD is telling a lie because I think the blinds just went up. At least I think it is. Maybe I'm telling the lie. Let's see who's telling the lie here, me or the HUD. Yeah, see, look at that. The HUD was telling the lie. There was 500 in there pre, so we were only M6. And so that's why I called. I mean, if we were a bit deeper, like M9 or 10 or 12, I might not call there because at that stack depth, we Wow. Does he have ace king, this guy? It seems like he has ace king. Can we fold him off of ace king? And if we can, will it be the turn? And so I think a lot of the time he's got ace king. Or maybe he's got a passively played sort of lower flush draw, which he shouldn't really have because he's raised in early position. It's pretty annoying that he can have a 9, I guess, a slow played 9, but again, he's raised early, he's been kind of solid, so it kind of looks like he got stubborn with ace king. But I just don't think now, given the pot odds and the fact that we've actually hit the ace on the river, we can fold here. He could, I guess, sometimes have a hand like sevens that just didn't really want to build the pot, but felt that he was a little bit too strong to fold since he was just checking and we were betting in position. There's just, I think, just a few too many hands he can have. He can have quads as well. That makes sense. I like the way he played that by checking flop, just because he had so many of the cards that. Well, I mean, not so many of the cards, but I mean, he was just so strong that I think checking there is making himself look ace king, and on that sort of board when he checks, it really looks like ace king. Not many players are just going to check aces or kings there and get really tricky, or queens. I think generally multi-way, they're just going to bet, and so when he checks, he really kind of presents an opportunity for a player to think they can steal the pot, which I thought we did have, and it just it's kind of good and bad with the ace, because if it had a bricked out and he checked again, especially if it was a club, I think the river was a club and he checked again, I would have been betting and probably shoving, and that could have been really nasty. Though when he calls the turn again, you got to wonder if he does call the turn again with ace king. And just given again that it's only a $5, right? $5.50 buy-in, I think he can be doing something funky. I mean, he could even roll like 10 jack of call, 10 jack of clubs, and just play the draw a bit passively on the flop, then hit a pair, and then river just made like a really stupid bet where he's betting a depolarized range when he should be betting a polarized range, because we're only going to call with better if he has 10 jack, and folding worse, so it wouldn't make any sense to bet at all. But some players, they're just not thinking like that. I know it kind of sounds stupid to you and I, but I think that there's just not enough information on this player that we have that we can really sort of say that he's. I mean, there's just too many unknowns, and I think given the strength of our hand on the river and the price, probably folding was probably just out of the question. I think I'm just going to keep recording this one right through, and I've spoken right through the break, so I'm just going to chop. I'll chop it into parts though. I'll chop it up. So that's kind of annoying because we had a pretty big stack. We've still got a nice stack M20 coming 5th of 5 of 17. So, but yeah. I guess checking big pairs in that instance actually is not a bad play. If you know that the player behind is like us gonna probably be stabbing trying to win the pot with a pretty wide range. And I mean, we certainly could have checked back. We had a backdoor nut flush and sometimes the best hand. But I was just saying before, in general, I think it's better not to cap your range in spots like that. Checking back, we really, I think, look like we have a king, queen, king, jack, jack, queen, nothing hand that just doesn't want to bet and is done with the hand. 4, 3. I think I will 6, 12, 18, 1, 4, 9, 9, 9. I think I will raise this one here. I just think he's probably 3-betting a little bit too wide. We get pretty good leverage, and I mean at this stack depth, I think he's probably only shoving monsters, but he's probably 3-betting enough hands that we can fold out ace X's and stuff. Didn't really want to call, obviously. I mean, we get full leverage for 50k. It is a fair chunk of our stack, but I just think that he's probably folding off it enough. And also, he's just kind of won a big pot, so he might not want to. He might not want to just spew it off straight away. Yeah, kind of the timing in that as well. I mean, it just didn't really smell right, did it? Just didn't smell right with me. The sizing, the timing. He kind of looked like he... I don't know, it just felt like he was light. He did tank though, so it makes you wonder, you know, was he thinking about a kind of light and 5-bet jam? Was he Hollywooding? Or did he have a hand that he kind of liked, but then he just changed his mind once he saw the 4-bet, like an ace 9 or something? I don't know. You know, a lot of times when players 3-bet in that position, they have a lot of hands that have less playability or a monster, you know, because they can just call for cheap and see the flop. So it doesn't make much sense for them to be 3-betting with Jack Queen suited and, you know, 10 Jack suited, King Jack off and stuff like that, right? Because, you know, they keep in a lot of hands by calling that they do really well against, and they have a lot of post-flop playability. So a lot of times when you see that 3-bet, it's ace 2, king 5, or it's like, you know, queens. And I was just hoping it was the former. This one here, it's Mr. Shoveloficus. 3, 4, 5. If you don't know Shoveloficus, it's actually from Sesame Street. It's an aggressive character from Sesame Street. I think he's a woolly mammoth or something. Can't remember exactly, you know, I used to watch it when I was a kid, but I just remember Mr. Shoveloficus was always jamming all in. Especially with ace queen in that spot. This guy's loose. This guy's just flattered. And, I mean, after all, we had a pretty good hand. And we have another pretty good hand. Quite pretty. So pretty. I think we have to just call here because I think this guy... Wow, yeah. We get it in. Yeah, it looked like he was folding. Should have called. I want to take it back. Yeah, I mean, it kind of looked like he was going to fold. But, you know, he's 3-bet to almost 1,000 and there's some 3k stacks behind, so. And we were kind of late-ish position, so that's what prompted me to go for the 4-bet jam, because I think he might call off with 7s and ace-jack and stuff. But... you know, if we call and if he has a bluffing range and we can just call, he might hit enough of a piece to get it in post and we find ourselves in a really profitable situation. Or he might just, you know, spaz out post in some way because the SPR would have been pretty bad for him. So it'd be hard for him to fold much of anything. And we can get it in really good shape and get I wouldn't say a much needed double up, but certainly it would have been a good double because it would have had us in a really Nice, with a really nice chip stack. I gotta admit, I really like the depth of the stack and the. Is it a deep stack? It's not even a deep stack. It's just a 550. It's just a 550 normal tawny, and the average is 37k, which is, I guess it's only M12 and a half, right? Yeah, I guess it's pretty standard. I just feel kind of deep with M20 and 17 players left. But we are in 4th spot, I guess, so. This is a guy before that was getting a bit funky on us. So I think that that guy's on snap fold top right. So I think I probably would have called behind or maybe 3-bet him if he had it opened. Yeah, that top right, you know, it's important, I think, to still be betting a lot of the times, especially when you're against a big blind, not some early position flutter. If you start checking on those boards, your c-betting percentage gets a bit low. You might have heard me talk about that in some other videos. You know, our hand doesn't look that good. The board looks pretty dangerous, but he's probably, you know, defending pretty wide from the big blind, and we look pretty convincing when we go ahead and, you know, after raising UTG and then fire a c-bet. And it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to work very often. Yeah. I've got kind of pretty mixed feelings about this hand on the top left. It's looking very queenish, isn't it? So it looks like it's queen 10 or something, queen 9. He could have missed diamonds. If he's got an 8, that's obviously good. I think around sort of 14, maybe 14,000. I hate the still focus. I think just under 15 is a good amount. Because I think he's calling with a queen always. And, I mean, an 8 is always calling. And, yeah, I mean, maybe we could have gone bigger, I guess, because we're pretty polarized there where we only have sort of a king or an 8, I guess. And he seems like the type to maybe not believe. Actually, I know this guy. Oh, no, I don't. He's from India. I tell a lie. I thought he had ace jack, which is the sort of hand I thought he had. And so I think just calling the turn is actually okay, because I'm pretty sure he would expect us just to get any sort of good hand in because the board is so draw heavy and the pot became so big. So I think just trapping there with just, you know, just check calling, and really praying, you know, for a brick to come on the river, and then I think he's going to, Well, maybe not with ace jack. He might think he has enough showdown to check and hope we've missed the flush. 4-5. I think that's possible. Yeah, ace 10, ace jack. I'm not sure if he bets, but you know, he might have worse than that, or he might feel he needs to bluff it and go ahead and shove. I think because we kind of look pretty weak, I think, and we can have some sort of weak pair or misdraw or ace jack though is, yeah, I mean, maybe he does check that back. I thought he had something. Well, I mean, I thought he had kind of anything, to be honest, but that kind of hand makes a lot of sense. And if he puts us on like a 9 or because we just called from the big, right? He might think we have ace 9, 9, 10, jack 9, 8, 9, maybe jack queen, queen 10. That called for the guts, so hit the queen on the turn. We could have a king 10, king jack, but he might think king 10, king jack's kind of the top of our range because we've just played so passively, and so try and fold out those mediocre hands if he has something like he has. It would have been interesting to see if it was a 6 of spades, if he would have shoved river or not. Yeah, I think if he, yeah, kind of close. Yeah, it was pretty close, I guess. But I think I'm just going to bet again because we get pretty good leverage against his stack. And you can have like a lot of trashy hands, I think. Ace high, ace 6 a lot of the time. And maybe worse. I actually think he might have hit the king here and have like king 10, king 9 and just... and just not believed us. And I was really hoping we picked up a spade or obviously hit a 9 or a 4. But I think once he just calls flop, and he's only in the big blind, I think that... and we get pretty good leverage, so... I don't think I'm giving up there. He's been pretty tight though, so... it'll be interesting to know what he had there. I don't necessarily think that he would jam pre with a lot of hands that he should be. So if he's got... like he could have an ace 2 and stuff, I think. Ace 2 suited and hit a pair, and then I've just decided to fold turn, call flop because he's got a low pair, and then fold turn, I think. As well as some other sort of ace X's and just random stuff that he just calls with. I think this guy's got ace high a lot here. Maybe like a 5s or 7s, 4s. I think he has like ace 10 a lot, ace 9, and just pretty dry flop. Doesn't want to do any folding. I didn't actually expect him to have clubs and play that passively, I guess, but I'm not quite sure why he doesn't bet river. Kind of a mystery. I mean, yeah. I guess he could... Yeah, I mean, I guess he could. I mean, just not a river that we're ever going to bluff on. So I think he's better just betting and just hoping we hero. It's a little bit of a dangerous turn, but I don't think I'm quite ready to start controlling yet. Just because we're against a big blind guy who's seen like he's a bit active. So I think that what was I going to say? I think that if he's got Queen Jack or King Queen, he might call again. Jack. Representing 10 Jack. I guess that's 9, I say. Raise the 10 Jack specifically, really. He's representing 10 Jack specifically. 7, just under a min raise. That's 25%. King 10 and King Jack. I wonder if he calls for those. We do have a King of Hearts as well. I think I'm going to fold just because it's quite a small raise size and we have the King of Hearts as well. So a little bit less chance of him making some sort of semi-bluff if he's called flop with like King Jack, King 10 of Hearts. When I think if you're going to go for thin value like that, you have to kind of have to fold to that sort of raise, because if you're betting and not folding, it's kind of not pretty, you know, it's pretty ugly, because there's a lot of hands there that can beat us. And so I don't think we're willing to stack off with it, but at the same time, I think against that player we might be able to get multiple streets of value if he has ace X. And like I said, even if he has like a king queen or a gutser with a queen, I think that he probably doesn't fold to the turn half pot bet. So I think there's enough hands that we can get value from. And I think it's kind of important to go for that value, because there's not many of the opportunities where you're going to get a player that has a fairly wide range and you've got, like, you know, kind of pretty high up for your range, where you got top pair, top kicker against a player who's just defended, and you've got a bit of history. So in terms of you know, getting value, I mean, in terms of finding, I thought that might happen. In terms of finding a way to get chips, I mean, that's one way that's going to happen sometimes. 4, 5. Being very tight, 3-betting, and small size. I think I'm going to fold. If you had a high 3-betting frequency, I don't mind a 4-bet shove there. Especially with that sort of hand. But he's been kind of tight. I kind of like this guy's flat behind, 24, 6, 30. He's M11. Got a couple of, a guy who's kind of squeezed a bit behind. And he's got a shortish stack in the big blind who can always just shove. And he's got a very playable hand, you know, especially against our open king queen. Once that guy squeezes there, you know, I don't mind his jam, because I think that you know, king queen suited against that guy's squeezing range, I just don't think it's that bad, as it was. He had 9s obviously, but I think he's even folding some of the time potentially. It does look kind of strong because the big blind is short, so we know that he's committing to the big blind. But you know, I've spoken about this as well in a lot of other videos, where players will still 3-bet, will still squeeze with like ace 4 there, because the big blind is going to wake up with a hand that can call so infrequently, and when he does have a hand that can call, you know, Ace-4 still is going to have some equity. I mean, if he happens to wake up with 8s or, you know, 10s or something, and he's kind of short, so he's just going with it, you know, you still have some equity, and the pot's huge at that point. And it looks stronger when you squeeze into a shorter stack that you're committing to as well. So I think that with that in mind, it's not like he's always calling and always has a monster, and so the king queen, you know, rejam is kind of cool.